The United States risks strategic defeat in a war with China over Taiwan, a report by a U.S. think tank has warned. The U.S. could in fact quickly run out of weapons, platforms, ammunition, and even fuel. Now, a U.S. China war could result in a global shock estimated at $10 trillion. Washington will be unable to prevent this global financial shock caused by shipping disruption and the collapse of Taiwan's semiconductor production. Now, this report, prepared by the Heritage Foundation, a Washington D.C. based conservative think tank, comes even as President Donald Trump has confirmed he plans to visit Beijing in April 2026. Now, since the end of the Cold War, the United States has prepared to fight two global conflicts simultaneously. Now, this report says that a conflict with China will leave the US unprepared to fight a second conflict with another adversary anywhere else in the world. Russia, Iran, or North Korea, for instance. The Heritage Foundation used an AI-enabled model called Tidalwave to prepare this war game. This report warns of serious vulnerabilities. The US is heavily reliant on a few forward bases in Japan and Guam, which leaves American air power dangerously exposed to Chinese missile forces, meaning that China could target all of these bases in Guam and in Japan with missiles, ballistic missiles and drones. Up to 90% of US and allied aircraft positioned at these major forward air bases could be destroyed by China in the opening phases of the conflict. Runways, fuel depots, command posts and parked aircraft, all of these could be hit simultaneously. The US will run out of critical precision-guided munitions like JDAMs, anti-ship missiles, air-to-air missiles, and missile defense systems within 5 to 7 days of the conflict. Now, these critical munitions are completely exhausted in most scenarios that this tidal wave is drawn up within 35 to 40 days. This leaves the US forces unable to sustain high-tempo combat operations. Now, the first 30 to 60 days of a US-China war could determine the outcome of the conflict, the report says. This is because early losses of aircraft, ships, fuel and ammunition cannot be replenished quickly. The most critical vulnerability, the report says, is fuel. Not that the US runs out of fuel, but the fact that it lacks the ability to move fuel under fire while forces are being attacked. Now, the AI-enabled model ran thousands of iterations, tracking how losses in platforms, munitions and fuel could drive cascading operation failures early in a conflict with Taiwan. A Heritage spokesperson said that this report had been shown to high-level national security officials who requested that some of the specifics be crossed out before its release to the public. Now, the authors of this report have urged the Congress to immediately expand munition stockpiles, strengthen fuel reserves, create ammunition dumps, distribute infrastructure, and without this rapid action, they say the US risks entering a conflict it is structurally unprepared to fight or sustain. Now, the US has already begun to plug some of these gaps. The Department of War is trying to get American industry to speed up deliveries of weapons and ammunition. Now, the key question is whether Xi Jinping will wait for the US to make good all of its shortfalls before he makes a grab for Taiwan as early as 2027, as timelines indicate.